As what Frank Sinatra would say, Chicago, that title in town. That is where NASCAR is going to this weekend, as we are going to be previewing all three series going to Chicagoland Speedway this weekend. And also, not to mention, NBC Sports will be taking over the second half of the season beginning on Saturday and Sunday with the Xfinity and the Cup Series. We get to see Dale Earnhardt Jr. up at the booth this year, as long as he has his famous word, slide job. And not to mention, of course, we will also recap Gateway Weekend and also Sonoma on the winding road course, especially on the carousel for the first time since '97. A lot of stuff to talk about tonight. It's going to be very interesting, to say the least. So get your seatbelts tightened. It's going to be a great ride. So his name is Chris. My name is Corey, and this is the C+J Speedway review. And welcome back. As you just saw the intro, my name is Corey Hofnagel, and tonight is the C+J Speedway review, previewing Chicago this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know last year was a lot of fun with, the fantastic finish for the Cup race, but it's going to be very interesting to see how this new rules package does on this mile-and-a-half racetrack. And not to mention, of course, we will also recap Gateway Weekend and also Sonoma road course weekend as well. So we had some really good races this past weekend. A lot of them fun to watch. So let's go to the hotline now as we go see Chris. It's always a pleasure with you joining the show. And Chris, I got to tell you what, now that Fox is gone, and what do you expect out of NBC this year?
Well, I want to say welcome back, Junior. Last week I got me a little bit of a speed crate in the mail. Thank you. But I drew this on it, ready for this week. It says, welcome back, Junior. And right there on the apron, I wrote slide job. And
I love that.
Larson's in front. So
yep.
That's going to be my go-to. But welcome back, Junior. Analysis by him is always great.
Oh, yeah.
I expect the same great coverage we got last year. Really no complaints. NBC has really upped their game when it comes to covering the sport of NASCAR. And I'm just, when NBC takes over, you're in the money area. It's time. We have but 6 or 7 races to go before we hit the cutoff. Then we go into the playoffs. Then the eliminations start happening every 3 weeks. When NBC starts, when that second half starts, it's real. We are cruising. We've beaten halfway. It means Daytona's coming up. It means we have a lot of great racing, including we have Darlington coming up. We have Chicagoland, obviously, this week. Another Bristol night race. It's going to be so fantastic. And not to mention the playoffs with the Roval, Talladega, Texas, Phoenix, all the great places.
Yeah.
I'm just excited because it's like watching the calendar turn from 2018 to 2019. You're watching the NASCAR calendar flip into the second half, the official second half of the season, where this is where the rubber meets the road, guys. No pun intended.
And not to mention, not only NASCAR does a great job with, not to mention, not only NBC does a great job with NASCAR, but they're also doing a good job, when it comes to, the NFL and then also the NHL, and not to mention IndyCar, which of course, NBC brought the television rights to them this year. And I thought it was a good Indianapolis 500 that they did this year. And not only that, a couple races, were a little bit stinkers almost, but I mean, other than that, NBC is doing a good job with their sports, and not to mention Fox also does good with their sports as well, with football and NASCAR, and then also I want to say baseball as well, like, when it gets to like the playoffs and then the World Series and the championship games and so forth.
Sure, NBC knows exactly what they're doing when it comes to sports. Over the years, they've produced, like you said, some of the greatest moments in sports history. Unfortunately, they're also half responsible for one of the greatest blunders in sports history, that known as the 2001 XFL. However, you can't win them all. You can't win them all. And this is the time when NBC really steps up, because not only do they have NASCAR coverage starting this weekend at Chicagoland Speedway, the football season's starting up in just a few weeks. Preseason is going to start, and then we're going to hit the start of the regular season. Don't forget, they also cover NBA pretty well. Going down the line, I think they're, like you said, they're going to cover the divisional series, and I think Fox has the World Series this year in baseball.
Right.
And their coverage of hockey this year, right down to the very final minute of the Stanley Cup, was great. So I expect nothing less than the best going forward with NBC Sports and NASCAR as a team.
And not to mention NBC Sports also does Sunday Night Football as well.
Yes, some of the best commentators and Chris Collinsworth.
Yeah, I mean Al Michaels. I mean he's a good announcer. I mean Chris Collinsworth, he could do better.
Chris Collinsworth should walk in front of a train. That's my opinion. That's all I got. So hey, do we have any news on the docket, or you just want to dive into this past weekend's action?
Okay, so I was doing a little bit of researching online, and so there were, and I think I told you this before. So there's 5 potential replacements that could, replace Darrell Waltrip up at the booth. So I'm going to give you the 5. I'm going to give you the 5 potential replacements, and I'll give you your opinion. So number 5, we had Larry McReynolds. I was just going to download real quick. Number 4, you had Mark Martin. Number 3, you had Matt Kenseth. Number 2, you had Ray Evernham. Then, of course, number 1, obviously, of course, was definitely Danica Patrick. So my question is, if you had to pick one of those 5 guys that could replace Darrell Waltrip, who would it be and why?
Well, it's not going to be Danica Patrick. I just don't think she has, and it has nothing to do with how I feel about her personally, professionally, or what have you. I don't think she's got the knowledge that the other 4 people you mentioned on that list. In a few years, could Danica Patrick be a fantastic commentator for a NASCAR broadcast? Sure. But again, seasoning. Ray Evernham, he did some broadcasting back in the day. He's a bit dry. I'm not sure I would pick Ray Evernham. I'm going to scoot up the list a little more. I'm going to go to Larry Mack. Great analyst. He's a great guy, crew chief extraordinaire. Brings that technical side of the race down to everyday guy level. He is one of the best at what he does. And although I think he'd be great in the booth, I would not put him in the booth. Keep him in the position he's in with that cutaway car, showing you the ins and the outs and the whys and the what fors. And of course, he probably has one of the best pick sets all year.
Yeah.
He picks pre-race, not mid-race, pre-race. Larry Mack seems to be always on top of the game. That leaves you with Mark Martin and Matt Kenseth. Kenseth, very articulate guy. Recently retired, so he's still young enough to have a long career in the booth. But man, if you ever listen to Mark Martin in an interview or anytime he's profiled in one of these 30-minute specials, the man is a wealth of knowledge. He is probably as close to DW as you're going to get. If I got to pick one person off this list that I hope it is, I'm going to go with Mark Martin.
Honestly, I'm going to say, how could you say no to Mark Martin, even though he's a Hall of Famer? But I think looking at these 5 lists, these 5 potential candidates, I mean, honestly, I could probably say, Fox would definitely pick Larry McReynolds, even though he was the guy that first started back in like 2001. But I will agree with you on that one. I think Larry Mack should stay at the same position that he's been in, ever since, Jeff Gordon took over, and then, everybody's been doing some flip-flopping around. And it's funny because I don't know how Larry comes up with those, average cautions, that come out with this laps to go or that laps to go. I don't even know about that at all. But see, Larry Mack, I mean, that's a yes and no type of thing for me. I mean, Ray Evernham, I thought, I think that would be pretty cool if him and Jeff Gordon would work well up at the booth because, like back in the day, those guys were really well on the track. I think they'd be really good up at the broadcast booth. Danica Patrick, I probably would say no. I mean, because if you think about it, she had an okay NASCAR career, but she didn't have that much of a good NASCAR career. I mean, I think she would be a more good analyst when it comes to IndyCar, if you think about it. But if I would have to pick one right now, yeah, I would definitely agree with your pick. I mean, who would not say no to Mark Martin? I mean, I think he would be a good analyst. And, you look at all those 5 candidates, just think about it. You have 2 guys that used to be crew chiefs and know the technical side of the sport. Whereas if you have 3 of the guys, that were drivers back in the day that pretty much know, the sport and where it's been going the last few years to where it is now. So honestly, I think it's going to be interesting to see who Fox picks for 2020. But other than that, I think it should be very interesting, and I'd be very excited to see who they pick.
Well, let me go back to that, what you said about Danica Patrick, that she had an okay NASCAR career, better suited to Indy. As soon as you said that, 2 names came into my head who were fantastic broadcasters, and brought a lot to the table in the booth, that being Kyle Petty and Wally Dallenbach. Neither one of them had stellar NASCAR careers. They flirted with the top 5, top 10 every now and again. Kyle Petty actually won a couple races, but neither one of them are anybody you would say are legendary. But you put Kyle Petty behind a microphone, you put, which he still is, NBC. Wally Dallenbach did, I don't remember what he did, which network, but Wally Dallenbach brought
Wally
Dallenbach.
Go ahead. So actually, Wally started off with NBC back in 2001. And he was also with TNT. And then there was at one point where he was on Fox, I think, for like a limited time only thing or whatever it was. But nowadays, you don't hear from him anymore.
But he was another guy that, again, not so stellar racing career, but what he brought to that broadcast booth was a lot like Michael Waltrip. Michael Waltrip, not a Hall of Fame driver. Michael Waltrip, not a legend in any means. But when you hear him break things down and analyze on some of those NASCAR shows that they do, he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. So, I'll give a little tip of the hat and a wink and a nod toward Danica Patrick and say, if they chose her, I'd be curious to see how she did. But if those are the 5 that the internet is saying are the best candidates, yeah, you're right. It's Mark Martin all the way. Number 6, Jones. I love him.
I would definitely say yes on that, too.
All right. Any other news?
So, did you happen to catch the K&M Pro Series West race at Sonoma?
I did not, but I hear there was a fantastic little bit of business that went on.
So this is what I saw, and I didn't get to see the whole thing. So what happened was, Ryan Preece was leading in the K&M West race, and I guess there was a caution that came out, and just as when you thought he was going to win the race, as he's coming to the start-finish line and so forth. So there you see the checkered and yellow flags that are waving, but if you look real closely in the video, one of the officials is holding the black flag, and it's pointing to the 47 of Ryan Preece. So what happened was Preece got penalized for jumping the restart. So not only, they took that one away, but they gave the win to Noah Gragson, who ended up winning the West race on Saturday. And this was actually kind of a little bit of a reminder of what happened back in 1991 when Ricky Rudd spun out Davey Allison, and then Rudd comes back, and then of course, they give the black flag to Ricky Rudd, and then Davey Allison ended up winning the race. So that's also another one. For example, NASCAR took the win away and so forth. But when I first saw that, I thought, all right, so I didn't see him do anything wrong. And of course, with the camera angle that was pointing at the start-finish line, I couldn't tell if he either jumped the restart or not. I mean, I thought he was perfectly normal, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I thought that was kind of unusual. But yeah, you could pretty much tell in his interview, Preece was very frustrated, and he didn't really like the call that NASCAR made as well.
Right. And it sucks for Ryan Preece to lose out on that victory, but great win for Noah Gragson. You can't take it away from that kid. I know you're a big fan. I've warmed up to the Noah Gragson bandwagon, regardless of the fact that he runs for KBM, #FKB. And, I had to throw that up there because we're not going to talk about him much today. But, good job for Noah Gragson in that K&N West Series.
Exactly.
All right, so we were at Gateway for the trucks this week, and wouldn't you know it, as Corey and I were texting back and forth during the race, Ross Chastain made a statement. Yes, you took my win away. Yes, I'm down in the dumps, but I'm going to use that as Bobby Boucher would call it. This is my tackling fuel, and he tackled his way to first place in the truck series. Todd Gilliland had a great run coming in second, but let's be honest, Chastain was out there to show the world, I'm ready for this championship.
Indeed, and I kind of thought to myself, all right, so what's this team going to do now? Not only that they took the win, but they had their win taken away, but they came into Gateway on Saturday, no holds bar, and Chastain did what he had to do, and of course he went out, didn't lead that much of the race, but I did see that, they made a little bit of a pit stop right at the end, and I guess the crew chief made a really good call, to get him in for tires and fuel. And then of course they brought him back out and, ended up winning the race and all that and so forth. So what this does now is the win puts Chastain, I believe, 38 points behind the top 20. So if you think about it, even if he finishes in the top 5 or if he wins the next 2 races, it doesn't matter. He's already in the playoffs no matter what, and he's definitely going to be in that top 20. And I'm going to say this, once the playoffs start, I really think he's going to be the ones to watch. I mean, compared to all the other guys, you just look at, right now, but I really think, this is Chastain's championship to lose when we go to the playoffs and everything.
See, I'm not going to stamp him as the favorite yet because you still have Sauter, Moffitt, Gilliland, a bunch of other guys that are just as capable of walking away with that championship. But sure, like we talked about last week and you just brought up now, wins, top 5s, do everything you can to the absolute best of your ability up into the cutoff. And Ross Chastain will find himself in that position where he'll be in the playoffs.
Right.
As long as Kyle Busch doesn't come down anymore, he's got no problem winning at least 2 races going forward, in my opinion.
Right. And then you look at Grant Enfinger. He won the first 2 stages and ended up finishing 6th. I really thought he was gonna have a truck that was gonna be capable enough to win, but I guess pit strategy sent him back just a little bit. But of course, he ends up getting a top 10, so it's a good run for that team.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, when we break down the finishing order, we go to happies and sads and all that, and the picks and whatever. A lot of guys, I look at just our picks, and without telling who picked what, Chastain, Gilliland, Creed, Eckes, all 4 of those trucks end up in the top 15. Great run for all those guys. When we go down the running order, when Corey reads it off to you how the race finished, you're going to see a lot of these guys work their tails off at Gateway this weekend. Yeah. To gain a little bit of momentum and to put themselves in a better position as we approach the cutoff in just a few weeks.
And I thought the guy that drove Johnny Sauter's truck on Saturday night, I thought he did a good job too.
Absolutely. So why don't you give him the finishing order, and we'll go to the picks and happy, sads. Well, somebody's going to be sad this week. I don't want to say any names.
Yeah. All right. So Ross Chastain ends up winning the race. Then you have Todd Gilliland, who comes in 2nd. Stuart Friesen ends up finishing in 3rd. Chandler Smith in 4th. Brett Moffitt rounds out your top 5. Then you have Grant Enfinger, Sheldon Creed, Ben Rhodes, Matt Crafton, and Myatt Snyder in the top 10. So other notables, you have Austin Hill in 11th. You have Anthony Alfredo in 12th. You have Kyle Benjamin in 13th, Christian Eckes in 14th, and then going all the way down, you have Harrison Burton, 16th, and then scrolling all the way down, you have Natalie Decker in 27th, and then Tyler Ankrum in 30th.
Okay, well, I'll just go right to my happy. I went with Sheldon Creed, 7th place finish. He's easing his way up the points, although he didn't move any positions this week, but he keeps knocking a little bit off each time of the gentleman ahead of him in the standings. And I've been wanting a really good run out of this kid for how many weeks? And finally, top 10. My sad's going to go to Tyler Ankrum. Here's a guy that, we've talked about before. We hope the best for him, but just things keep happening to this young gentleman that he probably wishes wouldn't happen. And a very low finish for Tyler Ankrum this week.
Yeah. So my happy would definitely have to go to Todd Gilliland. Of course, he finished runner-up last year and then this year as well. So good run for that 4 team. I'm hoping, they get some more good runs coming in the next couple of weeks. And then my sad would definitely have to go to his teammate Harrison Burton. I mean, he was one of those guys that was in the top 5, capable enough to finish in the top 5. If not, maybe have like a race-winning truck, and then he gets taken out late in the race.
You surprise me sometimes because you'll pick a sad that finishes in the top half of the field.
Yeah.
But I understand why. I do. Because, again, Harrison Burton looked great. And then, the troubles that he had knocked him back. What was it, 16th place finish?
Yeah.
Not the worst place ever, but, again, not the finish he was hoping for. So we'll go to the picks, and Corey took the aforementioned Todd Gilliland as his lock. He finished 2nd. He took Christian Eckes as his sleeper. He finished 14th. Good run this week, Corey. That's a total of 16. You divide that by 2. Your total is an 8.
All right.
Well, Chris took Ross Chastain as his lock. He finished first. I took Sheldon Creed as my sleeper. He finished seventh. Total of 8. Divide that. Finish of 4. 1 point goes to me. But then we go to the winding hills of Sonoma, wine country. Fantastic race, relatively caution-free. What a great run. The speeds were good to see them operate that carousel. And before we get started, I know you and I think, texted about this, and I know I had a little bit of jaw-jacking online with former guest Jason Blue. Oh, man, during practice, to hear Kyle Busch say, why can't these other 40 idiots get around this carousel like I can? Well, first of all, hashtag F Kyle Busch. Second, it was a 40-man field, Kyle, so are you one of the 40 idiots? You really need to think before you open up your stupid fat trap. I am so tired of having to hear people, oh, he's outspoken, he's just like Earnhardt. Earnhardt never called the entire field idiots, okay? But all my Kyle Busch friends came out in mass coming at me, and I just held up my little sign. That's all I had to do. But when it was all said and done, man, MTJ for the second year in a row. What a fantastic run he had. When he wasn't leading, he was close to the lead. He just had a rocket. And even in those late laps, 20-some laps to go, as the aforementioned Kyle Busch was creeping and cut that lead to just a hair under a second, Truex found something extra in that car and just powered away from him, winning that race by almost 2 seconds at the end. What a great run for that 19 team. I can't say enough good things about Martin Truex Jr. He's getting back to the form he had last year and 2 years ago when he won the championship.
And it wasn't until I think late in the race where Kyle cut the lead down, I think by 8 seconds or so to about a second or wherever it was. But even I thought, Kyle was going to get him, when those lap cars were going to hold him up. But no, Truex pretty much found that acceleration coming out of the corner, and he found speed coming out of the corner, which of course Kyle was trying to close in and whatnot. But
sure.
But I just look at Martin Truex this year, and the start of the season, everybody was like, all right, so he's going to Joe Gibbs. How many races do you think he's going to win? So the first few races, he started off okay at first, but now, he's starting to have that rhythm coming in, because once he won Richmond, everybody was like, all right, so we want to say more. Then, of course, he wins Dover. He's like, okay, so 2 wins. Then he goes to Charlotte, of course, wins the Coke 600. He's like, all right, so now this is somebody we're going to have to watch. And we go to the road course at Sonoma, and everyone's all saying, all right, he's definitely going to be a threat for the playoffs, no question about it. But I really think, this year it's just going to come down to either Kyle Busch or Martin Truex, that's going to win this championship. If not, it might have to be the Penske's as well, with Keselowski and Logano. But I don't know. I think this is going to be very interesting when it comes to the summer months. And then right when we get to the regular season finale, then we'll pretty much figure out, who those 4 guys are going to be and who those main guys to watch out for in the playoffs. But I don't know. I think if you look at it, I think Truex is just pretty much in his own right now.
Right now, without discounting those Penske guys of Keselowski, who's got a win or 2 under his belt, Logano same, and Ryan Blaney, who's been very, very close on many an occasion. Right now, this is a Joe Gibbs world that we're living in. Hendrick has a win. Penske's got a couple wins. You have Joe Gibbs just killing everybody. I think out of the Joe Gibbs drivers, only Jones is without a victory.
Only Jones hasn't won. Denny Hamlin's won 2 races, and then Kyle Busch and Truex, I think they both won 4.
Right, and I think when we previewed the move to Gibbs, I believe you said 6 races, I said 4. So right now, I've hit my stride. I have a feeling he's going to win easily 6 races before the season's up. And right now, as much as I don't want to put Kyle Busch into that mix, you have to put Kyle Busch into that mix as right now the big 2.
Yeah.
Is there gonna be a sleeper that rises from the ashes? Some of last year's winners, like Kevin Harvick. Is there going to be someone who sneaks up from way down beneath, who we're going to talk about in a few minutes? My man Guido, Matt Benedetto had a fantastic run this weekend. Amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But having said that, right now, yeah, it's a Joe Gibbs world, and if we're going to talk about the Gibbs drivers, the two you definitely have to look at are the 18 and the 19, respectively.
Right.
Too early to call a favorite because they're both running fantastic. It was nice finally to see Kyle Busch act like a man in the post race and say, hey, we gave Martin all we had, and we're proud of him. He's our teammate. We're happy for him. We just didn't have enough. Wow, Kyle,
Right.
That's what you should do every time a microphone is in your face.
Right.
But having said that, Corey's going to give you the running order. We'll go to picks, and we'll move on from there.
Okay, so Truex wins the race. Kyle Busch finishes in second. Ryan Blaney comes home in third. Guido, Matt DiBenedetto rounds out in fourth. Denny Hamlin rounds out in fifth, and then Kevin Harvick, Ryan Newman, Eric Jones, Eric Almirola, and Kyle Larson in the top 10. Let's see. Other notables, you have Clint Boyer in 11th, Jimmy Johnson in 12th, Kurt Busch in 13th, Alex Bowman in 14th. Let's see. Chris Buescher in 16th, Daniel Suarez in 17th, Brad Keselowski in 18th, William Byron in 19th, David Reagan in 20th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in 21st, Paul Menard 22nd, Joey Logano 23rd, Austin Dillon 24th, Michael McDowell in 25th, and then scrolling all the way down, you have, let's see, Bubba Wallace in 26th, Ryan Preece in 29th, and of course, JJ Yaley in 38th.
All right. Before we go to the picks, I want to say how impressive Kurt Busch looked in that number 1 car this weekend. He did almost everything right. Had a little bit of loose. He was a little loose coming out of some of the corners. Every time they pitted, he asked for a little more wedge, a little more air pressure so he could stick to the track better. But to take a poor handling car and run it near the front for a good portion of the day, I have to give Kurt Busch a lot of credit. So he's not my happy. I just want to clap my hands for Kurt Busch this week.
I would say so too.
All right. So I was scared knowing the picks, watching the race, and Corey went with the 3 road course winners this past week. And as I'm watching the crawler for I'd say the first stage of the race, I'm like, I can't say that word on this show. SOB, Corey, you just hedged your bet. You're going to run away with this. But it was not to be. Corey took Martin Truex Jr. as his lock. He finished first. He took Ryan Blaney as his sleeper. He finished third. Scared yet, Chris? Yes, I was. Unfortunately, Chase Elliott finished 37th.
Yeah.
That was your sleeper. It's a finish of 41. You divide that by 3. 13.3, respectable finish. I also took Martin Truex Jr. as my lock. He finished first. I took Eric Jones as my sleeper. He finished 8th. And my hopeful for the rest of the season until he actually crosses the finish line and makes me a happy man, Kevin Harvick. He finished 6th, total of 15. That's a 5 finish for me. The points this week, 4 points to no points. The running total, 48-43, my favor. 5-point deficit, but as we've watched those last weeks, man, you cut it down to 1 point. This could be your week. Now, I know I skipped over it. Let's go with the happies and sads for the Sonoma race from you.
Okay, so my happy would definitely have to be Guido, who ended up finishing in 4th. And I did not know that Matt DiBenedetto was really good when it comes to road courses. I thought to myself, like, wait a minute, we never seen him run this good on a road course. I mean, we never seen him run good anywhere. But
hey, now he finished that one race in Bristol really good.
Yeah, he finished 6th at Bristol, but I think if you look at it, of course he's driving for Levine Family Racing, and of course, they're with Toyota, and, they have the alliances with Joe Gibbs, and I thought, all right, if he runs good here, he should run good almost everywhere there is. And of course, we got Daytona in 2 weeks, so that should be a little bit of a game changer, so I really want to see how he does, and hopefully he can win a race soon. Yeah, my my stat would definitely have to go to Chase Elliott. Oh my goodness. My picks last week, I literally had 2 that did good, and the one that pretty much messed me up was Chase Elliott. I thought to myself, well, it looks like I'm gonna have 2 except 1, finish this one off. So this will be fun.
You almost walked away with the second ever 1-2-3 finish in our pick.
I almost did. Man,
I know.
I gotta tell you, Chase Elliott, he was pretty good too, and and then that engine failure pretty much cost him right at the end, and I was like, oh man.
Oh yeah, he was really, really good. And again, end of the first stage, I'm watching him cross. I'm watching. They were always like right next to each other, Truex, Elliott, Blaney. And I am MFing you like nobody's business watching this race. I son of a gun. Corey, you're going to kill this for me? Nope, unfortunately. But yeah, you know what? My happy and sad is the same as yours. Matt, first of all, Matt DiBenedetto, been a big fan ever since Charlotte in 2015 when I first had Guido on my radar. And then you go to New Hampshire in 2017. He was doing a lot of meet and greets. Just seemed like a real nice guy, and he's that quiet favorite, much like I had Ricky Craven back in the day. You want them to do well.
Yeah.
You always want to see a guy like that, much like Ryan Preece now. You always want to see that guy who's just humble, wonderful, just down to earth.
Right.
I can't say enough good things about Matt DiBenedetto, and I will say it here right now. When, not if, but when Matt DiBenedetto wins his first ever Cup race, I will be immediately going to NASCARSuperstore.com and buying myself a Matt DiBenedetto t-shirt. I will be proud to join Guido Nation. I'm still iffy because there's a lot of rumors out there, and we'll get to that after we preview Chicagoland. There's a lot of rumors that I've been reading lately about retirements coming, and I really don't want this to happen because I'm not prepared for it. I was prepared for it I was prepared for it in 2005. I had a 4-year window. I knew, but now we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. My sad went to Chase Elliott. What a great run, only to be ruined by a bad engine. And again, not a bad engine, just an engine failure. Don't know if he ran it too hot. Don't know what the story was, but to take a top 5 car like that and to watch that engine blow, just bad for business all the way around.
Exactly.
So now we go to the homeland of one of our favorite people, he of the mini mansion in Uncasville, Connecticut, Mr. Mark Azarju. He is from Chicago, and Chicagoland is this weekend. All 3 series are running at the same track. Triple Threat Jones. Corey, tell them where they can see the trucks.
Okay, so the trucks would be the first one on Friday night. The Gander Outdoor Truck Series, so it's going to be a Camping World weekend. So Friday night, you're going to have the Camping World 225 at Chicagoland Speedway for the Gander Outdoor Truck Series, 9 o'clock Eastern Time on FS1, and then, of course, streaming online on SiriusXM, SiriusXM app, and then, of course, you have the Motor Racing Network.
Oh, I'm unprepared. The voice of NASCAR.
Got you on that one.
Yeah, you did. I was so unprepared.
Yes. All right, so looking at the entry list, you have, let's see, you have Sheldon Creed, you have Todd Gilliland, you have, excuse me, and then you have Johnny Sider, who's coming back this weekend, Anthony Alfredo, Austin Hill, Tyler Ankrum, Harrison Burton, Spencer Boyd, Austin Wade Self, Brett Moffitt, let's see, Jesse Wuji in the 34 car, Sergeant Jesse Wuji, or whatever you call him. Spencer Davis in the 44, and then Ross Chastain in the 45. Brandon Jones is going to be in the 51 truck this weekend. Then you have Stuart Friesen, Natalie Decker, Joe Nemechek, Matt Crafton, Grant Infinger, and Ben Rhodes.
It's nice to hear that Spencer Davis took time off from his musical group, the Spencer Davis Project, in order to get in the truck this weekend, which, guys, that's a joke. Chuckle, y'all.
Of course.
Let's get it done. So, Corey, why don't you lead the way? Give us a lock and give us a sleeper.
So my lock on this one is definitely going to be easy. My lock is going to have to go to Ross Chastain. I mean, if you look at it, this team was good on the mile and a halfs this year. They won at Kansas. They did good at Charlotte. Had they hadn't have had that hiccup, they would have did pretty good. But of course, he ends up winning 2 races, and I thought to myself, all right, so we have the next 2 mile and a halfs coming up for the trucks, which we have Chicago and Kentucky. So it wouldn't really surprise me if Chastain either finishes in the top 5 or wins back-to-back. So my luck is definitely going to have to go to Chastain for sure. I mean, I really want to see this kid, have the most success as he can, and hopefully he can rack up a lot of wins before the playoffs start. And then my sleeper, the sleeper's going to be easy on this one. My sleeper, I'm going to have to go with Stewie. Of course, the 52 truck of Stuart Friesen. I mean, just think about it. He ran pretty good at Kansas, only to have, him running out of gas and whatnot. But I have a feeling, I think Stuart Friesen's going to get his first win, and hopefully it'll be this weekend.
Which is funny because I kind of went a different route with my picks all the way down this week. I'm calling it Momentum Jones. I want to take the momentum that some of these gentlemen have had in the last 2 to 3 weeks and apply them to Chicagoland. So first, my lock, Grant Enfinger. Had some really great runs recently. He's due. He needs to get into victory lane. There's just something about him I like. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something about him I like. My sleeper is the same sleeper I've picked for the last 5 weeks, Apollo Sheldon Creed. Again, great run this past weekend. And if I'm not mistaken, what was he, 7th this past weekend? Yes.
Yeah.
So let's just ride that momentum, creep up the charts a little bit. Go from 7, maybe 5th, maybe 3rd. Maybe Sheldon Creed hits victory lane. Don't know. Want to see it. Those are my picks. Mark them down. I win. Just give me the point now.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Listen to you. All right, so then we go to Saturday with the fantastic Xfinity race. Tell them all about it.
Okay, so you can catch the Xfinity Series Camping World 300 at Chicagoland Speedway, 3:30 Eastern Time on FS1. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, so the Xfinity race will be on at 3:30 Eastern Time on NBCSN, and then of course you could stream it live on the NBC Sports app, and then of course you could stream it online on Sirius XM satellite radio channel 90, which of course you have the Motor Racing Network,
the voice of NASCAR.
And I'm glad you didn't come unprepared this time.
They need to hire me. I want to be that guy during the bumpers. You're listening to MRN, the voice of NASCAR.
I hope you get hired soon.
We could get some production value on the show if I do.
Yes.
So go ahead, give us the entry list.
Okay, so looking down on the entry list, so you have one Cup guy that's going to be running on Saturday.
Who is it?
So it's going to be Joey Logano, who's going to run the 12 car for Team Penske. So Penske's going to have 2 of their cars on Saturday.
Okay.
And aside from that note, you got Cole Custer, you have Garrett Smithley, you have Michael Annett, Tyler Reddick, Justin Allgaier, Greg Galding, Zane Smith, who's going to be in the 8 car this weekend for Junior Motorsports. And then, of course, you have Noah Gragson. And, of course, Ross Chastain is going to be doing, I believe, maybe triple or double this weekend, which, of course, Ross is going to be driving the 10 car for Colleague Racing this weekend. Then you have Justin Haley. You have nobody's favorite BJ McLeod. Then you have then you have Riley Herbst in the 18 car. You have Brandon Jones, Christopher Bell, Austin Cindric, John Hunter Nemechek, Shane Lee. Let's see. Then you have Joey Gase. You have Jeff Green. You have Ryan Sieg, Jeremy Clements, and then you have Jeffrey Earnhardt in the 81. You have Morgan Shepherd. You have all the way down, and last but not least, you had Chase Briscoe.
Okay. I'll lead this one off, and I'll let you take Cup first. I'm going to go with my lock. Again, momentum. It would be great to see Austin Cindric wheel that 22 into victory lane this weekend. He's on the rise. Austin Cindric is better than the finishes have been in front of him. You know it. I know it. And now it's time for the general public to know it. Austin Cindric not only needs this win, I think he deserves it. And it's a track that historically he's good on the 1.5 miles. So my sleeper is going to be Justin Haley. Really great run this past weekend. Not this past weekend, the weekend before. Again, just another really good guy. All the way down my list. Good guys all the way down the list.
Well, not to mention
really quality human beings.
Well, not to mention let's see, Cindric is driving the discount tire car this weekend, so that would be pretty cool if he rolls it in the victory lane, which I think that'd be awesome if he does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now we need a lock and a sleeper out of you, my friend.
Okay, so my lock on this one had pretty much 2 choices. So I thought to myself, all right, these 2 guys have been pretty good all year, but if I'm going to have to pick one, my lock, I'm going to have to go with Tyler Reddick. I mean, he did pretty good at Charlotte on the 1.5 miles this year. He was so dominant in May. And I thought, okay, so if he's good there, then he could be good almost anywhere. And then, of course, Vegas, he could have won too if he hadn't got caught up in a wreck late in the race. So I don't know. I mean, I just look at it, I think Reddick, is on the rise right now. I mean, he's won 3 races, and of course, I think this is going to be the guy to watch from now until we start the playoffs of the Xfinity Series. My sleeper on this would definitely okay, so I really
Corey, I think I lost you. I didn't hear your pick.
both of them or just one?
I got Reddick. I didn't get your second pick.
Oh, my sleeper is going to be Justin Allgaier.
Okay, thank you. I don't know why the audio dropped, but now I have you back. So Allgaier and Reddick versus Cindric and Haley for the Xfinity Tag Team Championships. We're going to make the great picks all the way around. Usually I complain about 1 or 2 of your picks, which I'm sure when we go to the Cup, I'm going to complain about one of them, but we're just going to leave it alone. But then Sunday, $5 pays for the whole seat, but you'll only use the edge. It's the Cup Series at Chicagoland, one of my favorite races of the year as far as the cookie cutter 1.5 miles. Corey, where can they see it and hear it?
Okay, so Sunday, you have the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. Again, I'm going to use the word Camping World because they're sponsoring the race this weekend. So Sunday, you have the Camping World 400 at Chicagoland, 3 o'clock Eastern time on NBCSN, and then of course, you can stream it live on NBC Sports app, and of course, you can stream it live on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, which of course you have the Motor Racing Network,
the voice of NASCAR.
All right.
So who's in it? What do we do? Talk to me.
Okay, so pretty much you have the same guys that race in the Cup Series all year. Let's see. Well, yeah, actually, of course, Ross Chastain's doing triple duty this weekend. So not only he's running the trucks and Xfinity, but he's also running the Cup race on Sunday for Premium Motorsports.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, I'm going with the pick set of Momentum Jones. These 3 guys in the last 2 weeks really have sparked my interest. And of course, I'm just going to start with my hopeful. I'm going to pick him as my hopeful until he wins a damn race. Kevin Harvick is my hopeful. My lock is going to go to Kurt Busch. I've seen him do really well over the years at Chicagoland. He can handle the 1.5 miles. That one car has so much speed. He just needs to get that one really good run. I don't care if he leads 1 lap or every lap. Kurt Busch is due, and I think we're going to see him in victory lane this year. My sleeper is going to go to the number 95, Guido, Matt DiBenedetto. 2 really great runs back-to-back this week. Fantastic top 5 finish. I can't say enough good things about Matt DiBenedetto, and I really want him to win. I am so pulling for him. I don't know. Maybe I'm pissing away a pick. Maybe he'll finish 28th. But this is a guy, people, if you like racing, if you love racing, if you care about the person behind the wheel, not just, the fact that, hey, that car wins all the time, like every Kyle Busch fan. But if you care that the quality human being is driving the car, like a Matt Kenseth, Matt DiBenedetto is a quality human being. He's my sleeper. I hope he doesn't mess this up for me this week.
Well, let's hope not.
All right. Now, sir, we need a lock, a sleeper, and a hopeful for Chicago.
Okay, so my lock on this one, I'm going to have to go with Truex. I mean, again, they've just been on a high tear of a momentum this year, and of course, the 1.5 miles, which they won at Charlotte back in May, I thought, all right, had he not scraped the wall, of course, they would have dominated. But, they won the race, and I really feel like I think this is going to be a Gibbs type of race, and I think it's going to come down between the 18 and the 19. But I think with Truex, I wouldn't mind if he goes back-to-back this weekend. I mean, like I said, he's done really good this year, and hopefully he does good for me Sunday. My sleeper on this, I'm gonna have to go with but okay, so my sleeper on this, I really want to go with Jimmy Johnson because he's got to win a race sometime soon. I don't really know when it's gonna come, but hopefully this weekend.
We've been saying this for 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, just
Come
like
on,
something,
man.
or I mean, just something or whatever. But Johnson's definitely going to be my sleeper no matter what. I mean, hopefully he can just try and just do something. That's all I can just pretty much say about it. And my hopeful, the guy that, was going to win last year but didn't really get there, my hopeful, I'm going to go with Kyle Larson. And I really think this is going to be the weekend where the 42 car is going to be back up on its feet. Hopefully they'll have a dominant race, and hopefully, they get that first win of the year.
Let me ask you a question. I know you're the stat guy. You pour over these things, you analyze, you criticize, you sometimes overdo it. Part of me says you picked Truex Jr. because you really believe he's the guy to win this race. The other part of me says you picked Truex Jr. to keep that wonderful young lady happy every single week.
Well, I mean, you could say that. I mean, I do love Chelsea so much, and even though the fact that we celebrated our 1-year anniversary on Monday, so that was very that was really wonderful of us. And what's actually kind of funny was I kind of thought of this a few days ago. So when we started dating last year, that was like the day that we started dating, that was when Truex won at Sonoma when he was driving for Furniture Row. The 1-year anniversary, which was like the day after. Well, actually, it's funny because our 1-year anniversary was the day after Truex won the race on Sunday, which, of course, he was driving the 19 car for Joe Gibson. I thought to myself, like, gee, like, what a difference a year makes. It's really awesome. I mean, I don't know if it's either luck or I don't know if it's whatever, but no, I thought that was pretty cool. Don't make you weird.
No, don't make it weird. Well, it might be karma. It might be kismet. Some call it luck. I prefer to call it, luck, really, yeah. It's probably just luck. But, again, Martin Truex Jr. is a fantastic driver.
Yeah.
My daughter's favorite driver. It's Chelsea's favorite driver. Daniel Williamson, who watches the show regularly, it's his favorite driver. So, you could pick a worse guy. If you'd have said Kyle Busch, I may have had to crawl through the video screen and choke you.
He's my Truex is my favorite because I love when he drives the Bass Pro Shops car. And I gotta tell you, I love Bass Pro Shops. I mean, I would have to say it's one of the best sponsors in NASCAR.
When was the last time you went to a Bass Pro Shop?
I don't think I've ever been to a Bass Pro Shops, to tell you
there
the truth.
You go. I love Bass Pro Shops. They're my favorite. Well, never. Oh,
yeah.
God. See,
maybe I'll visit the one at Gillette Stadium sometime soon.
Fantastic. You do that. And
I'm
by
hoping
the way,
so.
with football season coming up, I want to ask you. You're one. There's going to be myself and Mike, who's obviously Loki from the Loki and Jabroni Show. Finally, we're going to do it. We're going to do the Loki and Jabroni Show Fantasy Football League. I want to extend an invite to you. You'll be the third official member of the league.
Okay, I don't know what just happened. Like, okay, so
hi.
So, anyways, that was just a little bit weird. But can we hear Chris now?
Happened. Yeah, I don't know what happened, sir.
And unfortunately, I don't hear Chris.
You? Hi. Hello.
All
right. If Corey can't hear me,
the heck
that's fine.
Press?
I don't know, but if producer Eddie is here, here's what I can see you. If you can undo your microphone and be a part of the broadcast for just a brief moment.
Okay, very interesting to say the least. Yeah, we just had a little bit of a technical issue.
Okay.
I don't really know what just happened, so
we're working on it, and I know Corey can't hear me. There's something going on. Ed, can you hear me?
So
Great. I don't know what happened. Well, kids, this is the way it is.
So
Waiting
yeah,
for
guys. So
Bruce's-
just okay. So we're just gonna wrap it up, and so yeah. Don't know what just happened, but we will be back. I think maybe within a few moments, depending on what goes on. But yeah, we'll just have to wrap this up, guys, and hopefully we can try and fix this. So, yeah. So, as far as the fact, I'm glad that we got all the recaps and the picks in. So I'm glad we did that. So yeah. So yeah. I guess this will probably do from here. From what it looks like.
Okay, Corey can't hear me, but good night, everybody. We'll see you next time.